Your iPhone came through a port. Your Nike shoes came through a port. That Amazon package sitting on your doorstep right now, it came through a port. But here is what you do not know. When that container arrived, the person who unloaded it was not a person. It was a machine. And that machine does not need a human being. Not to drive it. Not to lift the container. Not to check the cargo. Not even to turn the lights on. Singapore just fired every single dock worker at the largest automated port on Earth and replaced them with robots. $20 billion. 65 million containers a year. 0 humans on the ground. Not fewer workers. 0. This is Tuas Mega Port. And it is not an experiment. It is already handling more cargo than the entire port of Los Angeles. And if it works, every port on the planet will copy it. Which means 15 million dock workers worldwide will lose their jobs in the next 10 years. The countdown has already started. Stand at the edge of Tuas at 3 in the morning. The first thing that hits you is the silence. Ports are supposed to sound like war zones. Metal screeching, diesel engines roaring, men shouting into radios, forklifts beeping, cranes grinding. But Tuas hums. It is quiet like a data center. You see rows of containers stacked 7 high stretching to the horizon. You see cranes taller than the Statue of Liberty moving 65-ton containers at a time. But you do not see people. The cranes are unmanned. The trucks carrying containers from ship to yard, unmanned. The system deciding which box goes where and when, unmanned. It is all controlled by an invisible brain. A network of artificial intelligence, private 5G wireless, and 12,000 sensors spread across 600 football fields of concrete and steel. This is not automation. This is deletion. The longshoreman, the dock worker, the guy in the high-visibility vest who has been doing this job since the Phoenicians invented shipping 3,000 years ago. He is gone. Let me give you scale. A typical major port like Los Angeles employs 15,000 dock workers. They run the cranes. They drive the yard trucks. They check manifests. They lash containers to ships. They make serious money. Union jobs. $60,000 to $120,000 a year in the United States. Benefits, pensions, job security. Tuas does not employ them. It employs 200 engineers sitting in an air-conditioned control room 20 miles away in downtown Singapore. The cranes move themselves. When a container ship docks, the system already knows every single box on board before the first rope is tied. It knows the weight. It knows the destination. It knows the contents. It knows if that box is going to a warehouse in Mumbai or a Walmart in Texas. An automated gantry crane picks the container off the ship, places it on an autonomous guided vehicle. The vehicle drives itself through pre-mapped routes to a storage yard. Another automated stacking crane lifts it and places it in a slot calculated by an algorithm to minimize future moves. No human touched it. No human saw it. If a sensor detects a problem, a drone is dispatched to inspect. Still no human. The entire port can run in total darkness. They literally call it a lights-out port because the machines do not need illumination. Here is why they built it this way. Labor is expensive and unpredictable. A dock worker strike can shut down a port for weeks. In 2002, a strike at U.S. West Coast ports cost the economy $1 billion per day. Singapore looked at that and said never again. Robots do not strike. They work 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, for 30 years. They do not take lunch breaks. They do not call in sick. They do not sue for workplace injuries. A human crane operator, even a good one, makes mistakes. Drops a container maybe once a month. A 65-ton steel box full of electronics or lithium batteries hitting concrete at 20 miles per hour. Explosions, fires, hundreds of thousands of dollars in damage. The AI does not drop containers. It calculates wind speed, ship movement, and load balance in real time. It compensates for a rocking vessel in a storm. It places the box within 2 inches of the target, every single time. 20% faster than a human, 30% safer. And after the first $20 billion investment, it cost Singapore almost nothing. The robots are paid for. Now it is pure profit. But here's the part that should terrify every other port on Earth. This is not a Singaporean experiment. It is a global arms race, and Singapore is selling the weapon. Tuas is owned by PSA International, Port of Singapore Authority, a state-owned company that operates over 50 ports in more than 20 countries. Rotterdam, Antwerp, Jeddah, Mersin, Chennai. PSA does not just run Tuas. They run 20% of the world's container traffic. And Tuas is their showcase, their proof of concept. If this works, and it is working, they will export the technology, sell automated terminal systems to Dubai, to Mumbai, to Sao Paulo, to Los Angeles, license the software, train the engineers, build the robots. Singapore is not just automating their port. They are building the blueprint for every port on the planet, and every country will buy it. Because if your competitor moves containers 20% faster and 15% cheaper because they have robots and you do not, you lose. The ships go to the faster port. The cargo goes to the cheaper port. Your port dies. So everyone automates, and everyone fires the dock workers. Look at what is already happening. Rotterdam, the largest port in Europe, just opened a fully automated terminal in 2023. Maasvlakte 2, 1.5 billion euros. 0 dock workers. Hamburg is building one. Shanghai already operates the largest automated port in the world, Yangshan Phase 4, 40 million containers a year, staffed by fewer than 50 people. Los Angeles just announced a $12 billion modernization plan to automate half its terminals by 2030. The unions are fighting it. The dock workers are protesting. But the decision is already made, because the economics are brutal. A container handled by a human costs $18. A container handled by a robot costs $11. Multiply that by 40 million containers a year, and you are talking billions in savings. No port authority can ignore that. But here is the monopoly hiding in plain sight. Tuas runs on machines built by 3 companies. A BB from Switzerland, Konecranes from Finland, Kalmar from Sweden. Together, these 3 supply 70% of all automated cranes and vehicles in the world. If you want to build a robot port, you are buying from one of them. And they know it. The price of an automated ship-to-shore crane has gone up 40% in the last 5 years, from $8 million to $12 million. Why? Because there is no competition. If ABB decides tomorrow that a crane costs $15 million, ports will pay it. Because there is no alternative. You either automate or you become irrelevant. This is the new choke point. It used to be the Suez Canal. Now it is 3 companies in Europe that control the machines that move 90% of global trade. Now let me show you what happens when you do not automate. Oakland, the port of Oakland, California. For 50 years, it was one of the top 5 container ports in the United States. In 2000, it handled 2.4 million containers. By 2020, it was down to 2.2 million. In 2025, 1.8 million. The port is dying. Why? Because it is slow, because it is expensive, because it still uses humans. Ships that used to stop in Oakland now skip it and go straight to Los Angeles or Long Beach, where the cranes are faster, the turnaround is quicker, the costs are lower. Oakland dock workers are protected by one of the strongest unions in America, the International Longshore and Warehouse Union. They have fought automation for 20 years, and they have won every battle. But they are losing the war, because the ships just go somewhere else. The port collected $460 million in revenue in 2020. In 2025, $300 million. The difference is not going to the workers, it is going to Los Angeles. The dock workers kept their jobs, but the port is bleeding to death. So who actually controls Tuas? On paper, PSA International. But dig deeper. The cranes are made by Kona Cranes. The software is designed by Navis, owned by Cargotec of Finland. The autonomous vehicles are built by Kalmar. The 5G network is run by Singtel in partnership with Ericsson. The AI system managing traffic flow is developed by a joint venture between PSA and Alibaba Cloud. Singapore does not own the technology. They license it, which means every automated port in the world is running on the same software, the same vehicles, the same cranes, from the same handful of companies. If Konecranes raises prices, every port in the world pays more. If Navis has a software bug, every port running their system crashes simultaneously. If Ericsson 5G goes down, the robots stop. This is not decentralization. This is a tighter monopoly than container shipping has ever seen. And now for the nightmare scenario. Tuas runs on code. Thousands of algorithms making millions of decisions per day. Which container moves first? Which crane is most efficient? Which truck takes which route? Predictive models calculating demand 6 months in advance. Machine learning systems optimizing movements to save 3 seconds per lift. If that system goes down, the port stops. Instantly. No backup, no manual override. Because the cranes were never designed for human operators. There are no controls in the cab. There is no cab. In 2023, this actually happened. Not at Tuas, but at Rotterdam Maasvlakte 2. A software glitch in the traffic management system. The automated crane stopped mid-operation. The vehicles froze in place. The port went silent. For 8 hours, nothing moved. 40,000 containers sat on ships that could not unload. The economic damage was estimated at 40 million euros. One bug. 8 hours. 40 million euros. Now imagine that at Tuas. 65 million containers a year. That is 178,000 containers per day. If Tuas stops for 1 day, the ripple effect hits Asia, Europe, and North America within 72 hours. Your iPhone shipment gets delayed 3 months. Car factories in Germany shut down because they cannot get semiconductors. Hospitals in Australia run out of medical supplies. Because one port, controlled by one AI system, protected by one firewall, went offline. But the real vulnerability is not technical. It is geopolitical. Tuas is in Singapore, a city-state of 6 million people sitting at the southern tip of the Malay Peninsula. It has no natural resources, no military power. Its entire economy is built on being the middleman, the port, the airport, the financial hub. If China decides tomorrow that ships should go to Shanghai instead, Singapore has no leverage. If the United States decides that a Chinese-owned automated port is a security risk and bans American ships from docking there, Singapore cannot fight back. The port is powerful, but the country is small. And in a world where supply chains are weapons, Tuas is both a fortress and a target. Let me show you the human cost.
Southern tip.
In 2015, Singapore's port system employed 12,000 dock workers. By 2025, that number is 3,000. 9,000 jobs gone. The government says they were retrained, moved into logistics management, software support, drone maintenance. That is the official story. The reality is messier. The 50-year-old dock worker who spent 25 years operating a crane does not become a Python programmer in 6 months. Some were retrained. Some took early retirement with government payouts. Some just disappeared from the official labor statistics. Singapore does not publish unemployment numbers the way other countries do. But walk through the old dock worker neighborhoods in Tanjong Pagar, and you will see the shuttered union halls, the closed training centers, the men sitting in coffee shops at 2 in the afternoon who used to work the night shift. Automation is efficient, but it is not kind. And here is the question no one wants to answer. If Tuas works, and it is working, what happens to the 15 million people worldwide who currently make a living moving containers? The International Transport Workers Federation estimates there are 8 million dock workers globally, another 7 million in related jobs. Truck drivers who haul containers from ports, warehouse workers who unload them, customs inspectors who check them. If ports automate, those jobs evaporate. Not over 50 years. Over 10. Because once the technology is proven, the economics are irresistible. A robot port is faster, cheaper, and safer. No port authority can justify hiring humans when machines do it better. The dock worker is not being replaced. He has already been replaced. The only question is how fast the rest of the world catches up. Tuas is not the future. It is the present. Right now, as you are reading this, robots are stacking containers in Singapore. They are doing it faster than any human ever could, cheaper than any union would accept, and they are not stopping. PSA just announced plans to expand Tuas to handle 100 million containers a year by 2040. That is more than the entire United States handles today, from one port, run by machines, and every other port on Earth is watching, copying, building. The race has already been won. The robots took the job. The dock workers just do not know it yet. So the next time you order something online, think about the invisible hand that moved it. That hand is not human anymore. It is steel. It is code. It is relentless. The port of the future has no workers, just cranes that never sleep, algorithms that never make mistakes, and a silence so complete you can hear the containers hum.